Welcome everyone. Today, September the 4th, it's back to school. You know, school was out, as Alice Cooper would put it, but now school's back in. And we have our TST week coming up next week up in Auburn, Massachusetts, Southbury, Connecticut, in Totowa, New Jersey, and here in Mahopac, New York, as well as on the internet. So you can pay for that. We have Joe Glassford doing a great presentation on understanding, diagnosing the current path. So that's something before we just get rolling tonight. And tonight's subject, we basically have technicians, what they get, what they don't get. Now you may go, what the hey does he mean by that? Well, doing a lot of different classes, I like questioning people. And obviously, I donate a lot of my time for years. In fact, just finished the latest TST newsletter and realized I think we're going on our 11th year of TST. And the reason why I know that, because it says volume 11. Volume 11 means it's our 11th year, never mind our STS days, Service Technician Society days. So at any rate, I don't mind giving back, but I do feel for the people in this industry. You know, having wrenched for years, I worked for some guys, let's see, we had no heat in a place. I had to wear gloves and work, had to put points and condenser screws in, no lie, with gloves on. Sometimes I used to like working outside rather than in the freezing building that had no heat in it. And that's when the sun was peeking out a little bit. I'd wear, you know, 3 layers of clothes and go home, and you ever get the itches when you finally get heat? You know?
Because you're on the borderline of frostbite, is what that is.
We've gotten burns, we've gotten cuts, we've gotten everything, right? So, that brings me to the point, and I want to ask everyone here what their experience is. I gave a little of mine, I get tired of talking. With me, to my left is Neil, and to his left is Pierre, and to his left is Rich, and the guy in front of me is Eric, and the other guy, Ed. His birthday, actually, this Friday. And I got a new grandbaby coming this Friday. So, at any rate, Doreen behind the camera, Lee there helping her keep her up and running, I guess. And we are going to tell you some of our experiences. So, let's start with you, Eric.
Experience what I've seen?
Yeah, when you work for someone, and then tell us you're an owner, tell us what you provide your guys.
I started off with BMW as a apprentice, so you didn't get much, I'll tell you that. And from there I went off into another dealership, and at first you don't really get much. You get your uniform, you get, you know, you start off with pretty much no sick days. You have to earn it. You have to be there for a certain amount of time, and once you're there, they give you privileges, I should say, but this is a long time ago, so everything probably changed since then. Now, running my own business, you know, and seeing what I've seen or done, or people giving me throughout my career, I give a lot more than I ever got, to tell you the truth. Because if you want to keep a technician happy, you have to give them things, and they will go somewhere else if you don't provide at least, you know, some days sick, some days vacation day, your holidays, your grace periods.
So let me ask you this, not to interrupt you. Yeah. What do you give? You say you give sick days. How many sick days a year does someone get?
I give 5 sick days a year plus.
Very generous.
Yeah, and plus 5 vacation days, and plus all the holidays, the major holidays. That's what I give.
Good. You're a small business. How about you, Neil?
I basically give a week vacation. I don't really tell them how many sick days they get. If they take a sick day off, I pay them. I give them 6 paid holidays, all the regular holidays off. I give them uniforms. The thing with the uniforms is really weird, because I have one guy that will only wear the pants. I have the shirts, he doesn't wear them, he just carries it around. Just he gets pulled over by a cop, a local cop. He says, oh, I see I work for A&R Auto. Another guy, my assistant, I want him to wear the uniform just to be presentable, doesn't wear them unless he goes to do an oil change. And yet I only have one other guy that wears his uniform the way he's supposed to, and plus I wear my uniform.
Well,
so,
now, do you think that has to do with your rules? Because running multiple shops, everyone got uniforms. The shirt had to be tucked in the pants. They had to wear the uniform with work shoes. Because I remember working in places where someone dropped something on, oh, they had sneakers on, or a guy had sandals.
Dropped something heavy on their toe.
Or the one character I used to work with years back, we used to work with shorts and a t-shirt, and he was cutting with the torch one day, and he burnt his leg, and it wasn't fun. And that shop was a real crap hole, to put it that way, because to wash our hands, you had to bring your own soap. It was a 5-gallon bucket with a hose. You know those metal 5-gallon cans? Had a hose and only cold water. That's how you would wash your hands. Okay. So what you really need to look at out there is what these guys are getting or not getting. And the reason why I'm going around, not to embarrass anyone, but the bottom line is, today, for some reason, I didn't get the invite. I was invited, but they lost the invitation to me for Pete Meyer and a whole bunch of people. And basically, what that was all about is technicians. How can we get more into the field? And, we can't get technicians into the field because of what we're talking about right now. There's no steady thing, and why would you want to invest? Why would you want to invest $50,000 plus? I have $100,000 in hand tools. I'm not talking diagnostic stuff.
And that was old prices. Today
Exactly.
It probably would be more.
And if I drop dead tomorrow, it's worth all of about $5,000. I would say throw my fat ass in the mausoleum over there because that's all it's good for. So,
He means the toolbox.
how could we attract more people? It's listening here to ourselves.
Right.
And Pierre, maybe your experience now. I mean,
Okay, well, I worked at a couple of, well, at first I worked at just a gas station when I was in college, and there was no dress code or anything. There was no uniform. And I went in, regular jeans or whatever. But at that point, I was pumping gas and doing the occasional tune-up or brake job at night. I was working 4 to midnight in a gas station, working through college. But when I got out, I went to work for a couple of dealers. And the dealers always had uniforms. That's one of the things. They want everybody to look the same, as a rule. But they didn't pay very well.
But that's no surprise in this.
That's not a surprise. And I got offered substantially more money from somebody else, and actually gave that dealer like a month's notice. I didn't want to leave. I really just wanted a fair amount of money. I would have stayed there. That wasn't their business plan. They were going through a whole crew every year and a half or whatever. They didn't care. But every one of them, at that point, there was no vacation time. Again, like Neil said, the same thing about sick days, though. If I called in sick, and they really thought I was sick, I got paid for it, but it rarely happened with me. When I worked at the last, there was a dealer I worked at after I retired, but the last dealer I worked at before I opened my own shop, there I was not paid by the hour or piecework. It was a high-end place, and there I was paid a salary with sick days, with vacation days a week. It wasn't a lot, but it was a week a year, and the uniforms were supplied, the whole thing. Because they really were, it was a Ferrari dealer. They had a high-end image. And when I opened my own shop, I also did not have uniforms. And I didn't have help most of the time, but when I did, it was the same thing. It was basically a week's vacation, a week worth of sick days, which actually nobody ever utilized. I never had of the few people I had working for me over those years, nobody ever actually used up a whole week in a year. And then the major holidays they got paid for. And I never paid anybody piecework or anything. It was always a salary. I didn't want somebody rushing, cheating jobs to beat the book time. I wanted a quality job.
Okay, Rich?
Well, basically, I've had only 2 jobs working for a repair shop myself. Early in my career, one was at a diagnostic center, Lear-Siegler Diagnostics, and they supplied. Excuse me.
Don't mention names.
Oh, okay. Well, they're
Long gone.
Long gone. They had uniforms. All right. I was not there very long when I opened up my own business. Shortly after that, I went to work for someone else. They had no uniforms or anything. I did get paid for sick days and a small vacation. After that, I actually worked for a couple of manufacturers as a technical representative, where I was a jacket and tie person, so and an instructor. And after that, I was in business for myself, and I've never had employees. So I can't say that I've offered anything to anybody except myself.
Okay, and Ed?
Well, see, I haven't actually worked for somebody in 17 years, but I did start off at the as an apprentice in a Mitsubishi dealership, and they supplied me uniforms. And the only other place I've worked at is a GM dealership, and they supplied uniforms. When I worked there, most of the guys wore the uniforms. They wore them the correct way. Some guys didn't wear all the uniform, or they wear half out of their pants, or
Kind of what Neil was talking about.
yeah. But as far as uniforms, I think it's an important thing. I think it's an image thing.
Professionalism.
It's professionalism. I think that's definitely something that, in my opinion, a shop should supply, and a shop should enforce their technicians to wear a uniform.
What about things like safety stuff? I mean, how much did they push in these places? I'm putting this out to everybody. You know, safety goggles when you need them, work boots with hard
I'm gonna
toes.
stop. You see that safety clean? I used to teach for safety.
There you go.
See it up on the wall?
Yeah, yeah.
There you go.
And every guy that ever came to work for me went through a material safety data thing. I gave them their own long rubber gloves.
Sure.
I gave them their own goggles. I had to sign for them. And they had to go through that. So they wouldn't do stupid stuff like I had to work in a place. We had to clean the floor with a can of gas and a rag.
Yeah.
That's so bad.
I swear to God.
And what
that's what I did
about,
every night.
well, we're talking about
Dangerous.
safety. Yeah, we're talking about
That's how you
safety.
cleaned your bed.
I saw a guy, not going to say where or when, welding the straps
Pick
that
the,
hold
pick the sound up, Doreen.
a guy was welding the straps that hold a VW microvan gas tank, which is mounted in front of the engine and through a well inside the vehicle, with the gas tank still in there with gasoline in it. He did not blow the shop up. It's amazing. But, wow.
Yeah.
But it sounds, one thing missing here, we heard a lot of stuff, what you should get, not get, some people not uniform. My guys got 2 jackets, 11 shirts, 11 pants, okay? And every couple of years, uniform companies I dealt with. And like you said earlier before we started, some of them are real crooked. It took me a little while to find the right good companies, and there are some out there. UniFirst was one of them. I dealt with them for years, and what's the other one? The one with the C?
Cintas.
Cintas. Both of them were pretty good for years.
But
Okay.
as a shop owner, Gene, wouldn't you want your technicians to look presentable, to look professional?
Exactly. And you know what? I even bought them T-shirts. I would give them T-shirts this summer because you couldn't get short sleeves like this. And we wear polyester, some cotton, some polyester shirt and pants. And when it's hot in the summer, come on.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Now, you know something on that
So I gave them
subject?
T-shirts.
On that subject, we don't really go into this stuff, but years ago I used to fly, and one of the things they teach you when they're teaching you about what could happen in a crash is what to wear. And what they say is also true in a repair shop. No synthetic materials. Natural fibers burn. Synthetic materials melt and hold the burn onto your skin until there's nothing left.
Yeah.
Scary.
So you should stay away from synthetic materials in an environment where that could happen.
So it sounds like we're all agreeing uniforms and wearing them, and that's something, I don't know how many guys do this, but have something in writing. All my guys had something in writing where it told them, hey, you had 5 sick days, 2 weeks vacation, X amount more after certain years. You get 11 uniforms, 2 jackets, which I keep a week of your pay, because you know what? When I didn't do that, I got ripped off from a lot of uniforms. It cost me thousands of dollars. Okay. But once I held the paycheck back, oh, they didn't want this crappy uniforms.
No, of course not.
I never always knew. They were issued new to the guy
Right.
when a person was new.
Right.
Right.
When someone ripped it, they got
Yeah.
a replacement uniform.
Well, that come,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I think that's where it comes in. I even produce, we don't implement all the time, but we did. It's an employee handbook with protocols. And they should sign off on that employee handbook and protocol list. so they know every task what they're supposed to do and what they're not supposed to do. There is no questions of what they're supposed to do and what they're not supposed to do. They know what they're getting, they know what they're not getting, and that should be.
And people imagine that they heard something or didn't hear something, correct? Nothing like having it in writing. I'd give them a copy, and I'd keep a copy in their file. They signed it, and I signed it.
So,
Yeah.
yep.
Right.
And that seemed to work.
Good idea.
Again,
I never did that.
running multiple
Good idea.
locations and not always seeing the person,
Mm-hmm.
that's really what forced me to implement a lot of different rules, including the Reed survey, a psychological evaluation survey that all my people went through, and it was the best thing I ever did.
You didn't want to hire psychos?
It pinpointed who was gonna steal off you. It pinpointed guys who had dependency problems, meaning alcohol or drugs. And I gotta tell you, that thing really saved my butt over the years.
That's
You're
another
dealing-
thing they do now, a
Yeah.
lot of drug testing.
Right, they do, you know,
Think
any
about
big
it.
company is gonna do things like that.
Mhm.
What I had to do is, to grow, I had to implement things like big companies. And one thing we didn't hit on right now is how many of you offer health insurance? Now that's one, oh, your wife has it, or a significant other has it.
Yeah.
Well, come on, and you wanna get people in the business, you gotta offer it.
Yeah.
You know, an old guy once told me this, and this really is something always stuck in my mind. This guy, Jack, was down in my White Plains shop when I gave the gas up. Jack came to do the gas and I just kept the bays. And he was a guy in his 60s, and he said, you know, G, I want to tell you a little story. I'm going to start the story with this, and I want you to remember. Cash burns. Look at him, cash burns, yeah, big deal. He goes, no, I'm going to tell you a story about my brother and myself when we came from Armenia. Okay, we came to this country, we worked hard, we opened our own business down on Broadway in Manhattan. My brother decided to do things right, take some little cash on the side, but most of the business money stayed in the business. He paid himself a salary. I said, oh, you're stupid, whatever his brother's name was. I'm going to take all this. Well, you know what happened? His brother retired early because he was able to invest stuff and do it right.
Mhm.
And him that had the cash, well, he was back working when he was 60-something years old.
Hmm.
He said, don't make the mistake I made.
Yeah.
And that was something that stuck in my mind. And to be honest with you, I made more adjustments after that.
Mhm.
Because the old days, you know, it was a cash business.
Yeah.
But people lose track, like a guy I rented to here, we were named nameless,
Mhm.
okay? The
He was
guy,
no name.
he, you know, he'd say, hey, I brought $2,000 in today. Well, $2,000's going right in his pocket, not realizing how much does it cost to open that door for a day?
Exactly.
Yeah. How about all those parts you just signed for that you haven't paid the bill
Yeah.
on yet?
And that's why he went bankrupt.
Right.
And owed people didn't pay him.
Right.
If
Including
you
you.
run, well, yes. You run a decent business and you play by the rules. I know the rules are not totally fair, but if you do things right, meaning, okay, so there's a little green you can get here and there, not my business because I'm the training business, but
Didn't work for me because I had people paying with Amex cards and checks, you know, pretty much exclusively.
it's
but
better
Works
just,
for a lot of people.
it's better to take the perks you're in business.
Mhm.
You can write off a car, you can write off your gas, I mean, everything legal.
Yeah.
Write all that stuff off and make it work for you.
Yeah, that's it.
That's the name of the game.
Mhm.
You know, get yourself a 401k or
You
whatever.
don't want to be under the microscope.
No, that's
With
right.
the tax
So,
man.
Doreen, is there any,
Oh,
are there any
look at this.
questions?
That's, my current employer pays 75% of my health insurance. Hey, Mike, that is very, very good.
And unusual in the business. Excellent.
Very unusual in the business. Very unusual. That's not something we normally see in the business, and I'm not sure why we don't when we keep hearing, oh, we want people to come in this business. Well, you're not going to get people in the business if you don't offer them.
There's ways to entice technicians.
Well, it's a competitive marketplace. I mean, there's other things people can do
You
with their
have to
lives.
give up a little bit to get a little bit.
Right.
Mhm.
Well, I think it's too much of a pocket business, and what do I mean by a pocket business? People get into it because they roll the toolbox in, you know, and they start working in a pocket. Oh, I did 1,000 today. I know right off my head I had 300 in parts, the rest is mine.
Mhm.
But they don't think of the big picture.
Yeah.
And I took no business management stuff in school. I wound up taking that as in business, making tons of mistakes,
Yeah.
doing some of exactly that. But later to be successful, when I took management classes, and you learn, and the best guy I like is Vin Waterhouse. That was some of the best management classes I ever learned. Because he really spells it out, he happens to be a CPA. And there's many other good people out there, my friend Terry Greenhut and Nick Schneider and so on, okay? But you need management classes. My guys were forced to go twice a year, my managers.
Yeah.
Twice a year, because you know what? You're gonna forget stuff. As Waterhouse would say, I'm gonna give you this much, you're gonna implement that much. Because it takes time to do it.
Yeah.
And people who are successful in business stay on top of management. Including accountants and doctors that stay up to date on training, and if they're in business, they take management stuff. The only way really to do it.
Yeah.
So the shop owners need to take management classes and the technicians need to take training classes.
And if the technicians want to eventually be managers, they should be taking management classes as well.
And I always say, you know, the reason for me, I'm going to be quite honest, you know, I'm kind of selfish where I am saying for guys to take management classes for the reason, if they don't take management classes, I'm not going to have people come into my classes. They'll be out of business. It's a matter of time. Now, people run a streak sometimes, and this is not like years ago. You know, you could have just rolled the toolbox in, not been a businessman, and made it because you were in the right place at the right time. Those percentages of now being successful are getting smaller and smaller.
The same goes for technical stuff. I mean, actually, there's a good question. How many people out there are sent by their employers for training that the employer pays for?
And we see that's very, very small,
Yeah,
even with
very
TST.
It'd be nice to
We're
see that
very reasonable.
on the web, you know?
Yeah. Well, so far, we have
because-
nothing on that, but
Training makes money,
Yeah.
all the way around.
And you know, it may not always be that you make more
try to
money.
make money like that. No.
It may not
But
be
it's
that
good
you
for
make
everyone.
more money the next day. It may be that the employee fails to make a mistake, doesn't make a mistake that costs the boss money.
Let me ask you guys a question. Whose responsibility is it to be trained? The technician or the shop owner?
It's a good question. Both of them, really.
Both, yeah.
Well, I say for the base training, unless you bring a kid on, you know, like Pierre and I sit on BOCES, you're not going to get a highly trained kid, but you want someone that knows that's an engine, that's a wheel, you know, here's I know how to set a lift, I know safety rules. You want something there. Then you don't mind investing in it. Because what's worse? Putting someone out there that knows nothing, that's going to take away from, this is my A mechanic, he's going to ask him a question every 2 seconds.
And maybe
okay?
be a hazard in the shop too.
Or pay for him, and while he's there with you, he's going to know what he's doing.
Right.
And what I would suggest to everyone that comes to my classes are not cheap like TST, or reasonably priced, we should say. Not that they're cheap, they're reasonably priced. Very affordable, okay? But when you come to my class, it's more money, and I say to them, look, here's what you should do, is make some sort of contract with them. If the guy stays with you for a year, that training is paid for by you. If he leaves earlier, and he used 2,000 in training, well, here's how the year breaks down. We divide 12 months into 2,000 that I paid for you. Here's what you're not getting back. If you have it in black and white, it holds up. These idiots who try to take money out of a guy's paycheck, it's all against the law, without having something in writing. So I think it's on both of them in the beginning. The guy needs some base. And it depends how you hire him. If you hire a C or a D guy, this guy's just learning.
Right.
You want to make him a B or an A? Dude, you got to invest in him.
Right.
But let's get back to health insurance. How many of you guys here provide health insurance benefits for your techs?
I do not.
Okay. Well, you're honest.
Yeah, it's just.
Neil?
I just saw from Aflac.
Yeah, they have that one for me too, but they pay for them.
Yeah.
Pierre, when someone worked for you and that was very
I did
rare?
not offer, it was rare, but I did not offer health insurance.
Okay. And Ed, you didn't have anyone work for you, so. So, now that brings up, see, this is exactly where I was going. Now here, these are 1, 2, 3 guys that are in business or were in business, good guys, good technicians, but did not offer benefits.
And why? Because it's really expensive.
Yeah.
Takes money to make money.
I
And
understand.
something is wrong with the business, because I can tell you this, with all the employees I had, including my current business, I offer health insurance. Okay. Now I can see, like Mike wrote in, 75% is good. My daughter works for HR for GE, where people used to pay nothing. Now they're starting to pay. most companies at least now will have you kick in 50%. And God knows it'll change with the new laws coming out. But again, we want to attract people in this business. We keep saying that. But how are you going to do that when you offer them nothing?
Well, I will tell you that I did offer it to,
I
you know,
did
I did have a high-tech guy, and I did give it to him as a family one, and it cost me $12,000 a year. And
Sure.
now it's like $15,000 or $16,000
No
a
doubt.
year, which is insane.
It is.
And to be honest with you, he wasn't pulling in enough to make it worth it, and thank God he left. But, you know, it can put you out of business if I have 3 employees, you know, with all families and have to pay for that many family plans. How much can you charge customers?
Yeah.
How long can you keep customers if you have to charge them
Well, these are,
$150 an hour? Because that's what I'd have to do.
what do you get an hour at your shop?
I get 100 and 100 and up to $120 an hour electrical.
How about you, Eric?
It's 98.
And what do you, where you fool around that?
Which one? The one.
Either one. Give me both.
The
Don't
one,
mention names.
the one that used to be my shop is $130 an hour. He's a specialty shop. And the other one's, you know, I don't even know. I think it's like 90 something, high 90s.
Yeah. With that, if they're doing right billable hours, they should be able to afford half, because a family plan nowadays, you know, if you get someone, you can get catastrophic coverage. You don't have to get the guy where every little toothache is gonna be covered.
Of course.
We're talking regular medical benefits. You could probably get something for about $1,000 or less. If he pays that, it's $500 a month.
Well,
Yeah.
here's another.
That is reasonable to keep a good guy or attract him. Because hold it, we didn't even get on what technicians should be paid yet. That's a whole other ballgame. And it's all gonna go, and you're gonna see it, you're all good guys here. You're all good guys, don't take this the wrong way. You know, you guys have bullets to be here, excuse my expression out there, okay? But the real world is, you know, why we're not getting people in? What the hey are you offering them? There's nothing to offer, and we're drying this sector up big time.
Well, there's the guys that, at least we should know the guys that are out there, and they should, the guys that have the knowledge are going to, you most of the time open up their own place. But now it's getting less and less, obviously. It's harder and harder to open up your own place. But I would be able to, if I got another guy, see, this guy became a prima donna that worked for me.
That happens.
And, you know, thought he was worth even more, and there was some points where he was making more money than me, and that's not right. I mean,
But, yeah,
I'm,
you know,
that
I'm,
happens a lot.
And that
So-
does happen in business. I remember I was just telling someone a story recently. You know, when I opened up business years back, I basically did well, and when the stock market went down, put the volume up. When the stock market went down, basically my business got affected for a while. And when you have multiple people, you lose, and multiple shops, you lose multiple times. And rather than getting rid of good guys that I actually had working for me, what I did is I didn't get paid for a while. But I already had a lot of money. And that's what, you're not in the business to lose money, don't get me wrong. But you should have something there in reserve.
Sometimes the owners have to take
Right,
sacrifice.
and you go, hold it. I
Yeah.
put a lot of money into this guy, training him and stuff. I can't let him go. And at the time, my ex-wife would go, why don't you just fire some of those people? I go, no, I got a lot into them, and I don't want to fire him.
Yeah, and God forbid if it does come back.
And it did come back.
You're in trouble if you don't have these people.
So,
that are-
you know,
That's right.
it's one of
You
those,
can't- and you
it's-
can't spin
it's a
up again.
catch-22.
Mhm.
You're an owner, you deserve to make a lot of money. And if you make 6 digits, high 6 digits a year, whatever, okay. Now, sometimes you're not gonna make that. It's the way it is. So you gotta play the balancing act if you wanna keep the people. A good guy should be someone that you can totally rely on, that's gonna make his money and then some back for you. There's a formula.
Yeah.
If he's not doing that, then he's either not a good guy or you don't have the right work for him.
Right.
So there's an issue there, okay? Now, Mike has a couple of comments here. He says, it makes for a more loyal customer to have health insurance. I agree with you, Mike, there. I realize the business may not be able to offer the entire family plan, but at least a couple of different plans that they can choose from. That's right. There's cheap plans or whatever, and say, hey, here's as much as we can pay, we'll put this in. So those are some of the things that we definitely need in this industry, some sort of a standard. But we're not playing with a standard. When someone could go work in a mall and get $8, $15 an hour, but not unheard of, right?
Right.
Well, what is the, I think the minimum wage is 7 something, if I'm not mistaken, I don't even know.
Yeah,
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
So,
25.
how many guys do you know, and I can go to a lot of shops right around here, where a guy's making 10, 12 bucks an hour?
And has
What?
to buy their own tools.
Yeah, what the hey do you want to be in this business for when you get no health benefits, no vacation, no uniforms, and I told you, I just did the class and I did the surveys why I came up with this. And today's whole thing, and you should see that on Motor Age's YouTube site. Unfortunately, the link for me is gone, but there's Scott Brown and there's Tony Mola and a bunch of people. And of course, our buddy Pete Meyer. And it's how we could attract new people into the business. Well, you're not going to attract them the way we're going. And it's getting harder and harder. You can't even get Americans to work in this business. I don't care if they're white, black, purple, you know, from
Green.
different countries. Guess what? No one wants to do this when there's an easier way to do something.
Yeah, landscaping, buy a lawnmower.
Okay. And
Right.
we're our own worst enemy. Right, think about that. You know what? Right down in town, if you want a day laborer,
Yep.
you're gonna have to pay him $1.25 and buy him lunch a day. Cash, okay? But yet a mechanic works in the shop and many of them don't even make that type of money.
That's sad.
So it's sad. And we're our own worst enemy in this business.
Yep.
And it always starts from right here. What everyone does right here. Okay.
Part of it is the image you present to the, I've always thought this is kind of a bootstrap problem. We have a poor image as an industry a lot of times. Because of that, we have trouble attracting good people, but we don't treat them well, so that's part of our image. So, you know, somewhere you have to break that cycle and improve the image and improve the way you treat and pay people so that you can make more money. People will pay you more, theoretically, anyway. But that's part of that is the customers, and the customers have to buy into the idea that they're getting value.
They need to be re-educated.
I'll tell you,
Yeah.
my two guys that I have working for me, my two mechanics, I took them both out of two bad situations. One, this guy just happened to be coming by my shop one day, and he said, "Do you need any help?" And I kind of really, I don't know if I really did or not, but I said, "You know what? That day I did." I was like, "Go back home, change your clothes, and come into work." Came into work, and the guy's been with me for 2 years.
And he's good.
He's good. Well, he's not. He's like a B- mechanic, C+, but nothing really comes back. Whatever he does is good. And his boss, his complaint was he wouldn't even let him take lunch. Would not even let him.
It's almost like slavery, you know?
Well, there's not a lot out there.
Yeah.
I told you, I had a guy where I had to clean, and God's honest truth, I had to clean the floor every night with a rag and gas, and one night, he kicked the can and some gas got on my face. I ended up punching this guy out. Because he would do this, he would flick cigarettes and stuff.
Flick cigarettes while you were
And
washing
gas, there's no BS. And he had two brothers that were his partners. And I'd say, "Hey, Tony, don't do that crap." You know, I was a young guy, and I would take a lot of crap. And I'd work a lot of hours for free. They'd never come, "I'll buy you pizza." Big deal. I built your frickin' tow truck. Okay, I mean, I'm talking this huge tow truck where they would get $1,000 to send out. This is years ago.
Yeah, mechanics take a lot of shit. That's
Took
for
a
sure.
lot of crap.
And my other mechanic, who's a better tech, drove more than an hour away, put 175,000 miles on a car, and he's like kind of a friend of the family. And I tried to get him to work for me years earlier. He wouldn't come to work for me because he was afraid he would do something wrong. But I finally saw I had to hire him or give him a chance. So he lives right around the block from where my shop is. He came to work for me, and he was making $800 a week for 6 days. And I initially started with that amount of money for 5 days, plus gave more for the 6th day, and which was only till like 3 o'clock, as opposed to working the whole day.
And you didn't have to drive all those miles.
Exactly, and he can go home for lunch. So what's better than that? But the guy who's a great mechanic, and he got 2 raises or 3 raises. That's how good he was. You know, this guy has health insurance through his wife, so I don't have to worry about that. But it's either you get one or the other. I couldn't really do both, but if I had to keep him, if he wants health insurance, then I gotta do what I gotta do, because the guy's worth it. If the people are worth it, you're gonna do what you have to do.
That's what I did. I
To
gave
make
him
them
an
happy.
option. If you wanted more money or you wanted health insurance.
Exactly.
Because most spouses are giving their health insurance as well.
So we got another comment here. Hey, Mike, that's very nice of you to look up to us. Wow, we're the wrong guys to look up to. But, you know, it is nice when we do care about each other and try to make the industry a better place for everyone in the future. Because I would like to see, I mean, I love the people in this business. Some of you guys I would have never met if I wasn't in this business, right?
That's right.
You know, Pierre and I became friends years back, and Neil, and of course, then met Rich and Eric, and then Ed. You know, you meet a lot of good people in the industry. But you notice, even our TST meetings, you know, that we've been doing for years, the old guys like myself and Pierre and Rich, sorry Rich, we're getting older. You know, we are getting older, and a lot of guys don't come out as they get older.
Yeah.
And do you see a lot of young faces, in all honesty?
Not enough.
Not as much as
Yeah.
you used to.
No.
Yeah, it's really down to a minimal. I mean, the class I just did here, and I haven't been doing many classes here, mostly on the road, but the class I just did here, I was amazed. I did have a few guys, and one old guy who sent 2 people here, a shop out of Connecticut. The guy stopped by on, I think it was Sunday morning, and he came in and he had a young kid. I didn't know it was his grandson. And they said, hey, you got a sharp young guy working for you. He goes, he better be, that's my grandson.
That was a good compliment, wasn't
And
it?
yeah, and I was like, wow, this kid was really into it when we were doing stuff hands-on in the shop. You know, there's few people that ever impressed me like that. You know, Alex is one guy, Anthony Shear was
Anthony,
another.
he was my last employee, and then I was
Yeah.
closing the shop. He was very good.
Chris Hall, of course, one of
Yeah,
my
Chris
star
was good.
guys.
Well,
That guy was phenomenal.
not to interrupt you, but just for the guys out in the viewing audience there, the reason why I'm still in this business is because of this guy.
Uh-oh, don't kill me now, will ya?
If it wasn't for him hounding me, trying to get me to classes, I wouldn't be here anymore, because the technology was just, like, I didn't want to do this anymore.
It was overwhelming, wasn't it?
He-
Back then.
Yeah, yeah.
Because of him, I spent close to $500,000 in tools,
Sorry.
But it was
We're
worth
in
it,
a lot of
right?
aggravation.
but I'm still here, so.
Well, that's good.
And I will tell you, I did have a 17-year-old kid that worked with me that I thought had hands of gold, and he was one of my best techs at 17 years old, because before I had to tell him to do something, it was already done, and that impressed me so much. But his problem was learning books. I started sending him to classes, and it scared the crap out of him, and that made him go into fixing lawnmowers now. He's got his own business, he's doing well, but I really feel bad because that guy would have been a really good tech.
You know
if he would
something?
have given himself a chance. He didn't give himself a chance. So guys, if there's anybody out there that's afraid of learning, don't be afraid of learning. Just give
Yeah,
yourself
just
some
keep
time.
sticking to it.
By the way, I mean, that's not really what we started talking about, but as an industry, we are generally not good book classroom learners. We are generally more hands-on learners. But there are ways to learn how to learn, so to speak.
Exactly.
A lot of people who learn with their hands and not through books are really smart. It's not a matter of intellect. It's a matter of how you learn,
How you
Yeah, and
perceive
nowadays,
things.
you know,
how you do it.
there's a lot of different things that is quite helpful compared to when we first got in it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You know, with internet, I know a lot of you guys know our YouTube channel and Motor Age, and of course Wells and so on. Scan and Dana, who'll be one of our guest speakers, instructors in March. These guys have put some great content that you can play over and over. You know, when you don't get a concept, but you see it, you know, and same little thing, I found a great little video on my weed whacker, okay? My weed whacker would crap out every once in a while, had an intermittent problem. I go, intermittent problem? It's a freaking spark plug and engine and gas.
Right.
But
Two
that's
cycle
it.
at that.
The little tube had an itsy bitsy hole in it. Okay, and it was sucking air, but you couldn't tell. And I go, it's gotta be something with this. Some guy did a great video, took it apart and said, hey, this thing drove me crazy. And he really showed it good. And if you could play it over and over, you could take stuff apart, you could fix things, you can do tons of things with the learning stuff that you have out there.
Oh, yeah.
Years back, you just had to read and imagine. The
Right.
first
And
magazine,
try it and try it and try it and fail and fail and fail until you
Trial
got it
and error.
right.
you know,
Trial
the
and error.
only foreign car I ever worked on when I opened my business up was a Volkswagen Bug. It was a floor jack and a milk crate. I used to take that thing out, rebuild that motor. It'd be a piece of cake. It really was the people's car. It was that easy, right?
Sure.
But when it came to Mercedes with fuel distributors and BMWs, I was like, I didn't know what the hell I was doing.
Kugelfisher injection
Okay.
pumps.
So what I did, I started reading magazines, and one of them was Import Service that I wound up later writing for and stuff, and became friends with the editor, Ralph Birnbaum, where this magazine, because of pictures and the great writing that was in that magazine, I learned how to diagnose and fix frickin' European cars. But there were very few tools that we actually had.
I have a question for the guys out there, for anybody out, you know, who's either an employee or a shop owner. Speaking of that, when you get trade journals, magazines, technical information, do you make that available? Is it available to techs in the shop, or is it something that goes into the office, kind of a black hole, and only the owner knows about it?
Please make it available.
Make it available.
And Alan, I see
Good
you're
for you,
raising your hand.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt everyone. Alan, you're raising your hand. You could type a question in the chat box, Alan. That's our buddy from New Orleans.
When I had
So good
my
to see you back.
when I had my shop, the one thing I absolutely had, besides like an MSDS folder right next to the door in the office, was an entire wall in the office full of technical information. That was not locked up, hidden, or anything. It was directly in front of anybody, you know, who did work with me, and I encouraged them to pull those materials down. Later, of course, got into computers. It was a whole bunch of DVDs. You know, with tech info, and there was computers. Now, what I did to make information available was I put network drops all over the shop and had 3 or 4 different computer stations in various locations, so you didn't have to walk far.
Yeah, that's what I did. I had computers up front and in the back, and especially networking back then. Novell, I think, was the networking.
Yep,
There was a coax cable that you had to do it on.
that's right.
But at any
Good
rate-
RCA plug, or no, that
Yeah, the jack.
a BNC connector.
But at any rate, you know, I always
That's
made
right.
sure the
Remember that?
guys had the trade magazines. Super Service Station was one of them way
Service
back.
Station.
Motor Age, of course.
There's a lot of great articles on there, and a lot of them are
Yeah.
for newer cars. I mean, new technology,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, yeah.
it's,
Well, SAE, I think everyone should get, although the magazine has really dwindled. But Automotive Engineering, it's a good magazine, a little bit on the pricey side for membership for a year. Think of over $100-something now. But the magazine, when you read stuff, that's really the future.
yeah.
We have a couple of comments here. One, so when Mike gets the magazine sent to his house, that's a good idea. Now, not all of them, some people you have to pay for the magazine, some get them for free, some not. Otherwise, some people had to dig them out of the trash.
Mhm.
Now, I did see shops where only the owner would read them, and they would throw them out.
That's a shame.
I would make
Yes.
sure all my
Yeah, I
guys,
agree.
all my shops got the magazines, and I'd say, pass them around. You write your name on the top. If you're done, the next guy gets it.
Mhm.
Read those
Right.
damn things.
Yeah.
And I like what, may he rest in peace, Stan Stevenson was one of the first guys. He was the editor of Motor Age magazine years back. Had a little quiz thing.
Yes, I
You
remember
read
that.
through, and I used to have a
I
lot of those
remember
little
that.
certificates. They wouldn't give you the answer in the magazine. You would have to go through, and it was about different articles.
Mhm.
And if you read it and understood it, you filled out the questions, you sent it in, and then you would get a Motor Age certificate back.
Yeah.
What a good way to see if people are staying
Yeah.
up on stuff.
Interaction, yeah.
And,
They should bring
and
that back.
encourage them.
Yeah, well, you know, I guess Pete Meyer now will have you tweet it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Get it
He does some
instantly.
great stuff there, and it is pretty amazing the technology that we have now, where you can share ideas.
Mhm.
And, you know,
Instantly.
Instantly.
Yeah.
And this is what we're trying to do here for you guys out there. You know, we want you to, we like your opinion. We hear ourselves, I always hear myself speaking.
Sometimes he doesn't even know he's talking.
Exactly, it's scary. So we try to make this fun but informative, and we try to bring up things that is really gonna help this industry in the long run. And that's why all these guys here are all volunteers, and we always look for more volunteers, that really put their time in, and it's a hell of a lot of time. Eric comes from far away, so does Ed. What's his
I
name
am
there?
far
Rich.
away.
Rich is in New Jersey. Neil runs 2 businesses, so to get here it's tough. Pierre, who was retired, is working more now than when he was working.
Right.
So we all got a million different things to
The
do.
unretired.
But we do it. So let's get back to what you think now. We all heard most no health insurance, uniforms are sketchy, vacations are sketchy, so we shouldn't even go with, do they have a retirement policy? That's gonna be, no.
Yeah.
So, what would you think would really make someone stay with you in your business? Because you think the managers at a McDonald's or a, I don't know, Aldo shoe store or something like that?
Any of the franchise
Do you
chains.
think they'd go through people like this? I would say probably not. Yeah, the kid who's coming in for the summer job or whatever, but guess what? They have key people that basically stay there.
Oh, yeah.
And that's because they offer something.
Right.
Why we think we can't offer something that's good to have them stay in a business where the first or most expensive thing they own is their damn car.
Yeah.
We made the whole thing wrong. And when I say we made it wrong, when you go out there with your scan tool and plug it in a car and charge nothing,
Crazy.
it's okay to do it to get some people in for something. But when you do it in the lot and go, don't worry about it. Hey,
And clear the code
But we
on
have a
top of
problem.
that.
But we have a problem.
We don't know how to fix stuff.
No, the problem is, I can't mention their names, but there are those companies that.
Oh,
the
free
cus-
scans.
The customer comes, yeah, I already know what it is, here's the code. I got it from the parts store down the street.
Oh, let the parts store fix it.
Well,
Here's the
that-
problem
that
with
comes
that.
back to backfire.
They're chasing codes.
To be honest with you, I know how to tell customers why I don't want them as customers. If they're gonna do that kind of stuff, this is why you come to me. That's why you don't go to them.
And
I-
I
you know,
explain it to them.
I never
but
said it that way.
I don't have time to do that. And I don't want those kind of customers.
I-
But the couple of customers, the good customers that I do have, I will sometimes, but you kind of said that already, but my good customers, I'm gonna do that quick one where I'm just gonna check until it's, it's ready to come in and they're ready to do work if but,
Basically, they want to know if it's going to damage the car or not.
exactly.
If it's an evap small leak, they want to know that they're not going to blow up the motor.
And that's
so
what I do. But I wish I could charge every single time I put that machine on there and check that out for them. I wish I could, but in actuality,
Well,
I do.
In reality, you're a good businessman and you know the real world is you can't always charge.
yeah.
Now, it's real easy, because I don't run a repair shop anymore, for me to say that.
Right.
And over the years, I did give away certain things.
Right.
But I'm talking on the overall. If you conduct your business where it's constantly, don't worry about it, don't worry about it, that gives the customer the wrong sense. Oh, the check engine light on, that don't mean anything anyway.
I don't say don't worry about it anymore.
That's right.
I say, I'm doing this for now, but I need you to come back.
Right.
And a lot of times I won't even reset the check engine light unless it's something that I know it's gonna come back,
Yeah.
so I can have them come back and just be sure that it's good. So I do get business out of it, but it's just, I always have to be there, because my 2 guys that I just talked about, unfortunately can't do that. My assistant really can't do that.
Now,
That makes it tough.
by the way, if they go, one of the things you can tell your customers, if they go someplace and they check the light and they clear it, what they've just done is erased all the freeze frame information that you need to properly diagnose that vehicle in a short amount of time.
Leave the light on, because it will drive the customer crazy with that light on the dash.
That's right.
Yeah, but it depends on where they
It's out of
have it.
sight.
Where they go,
Where
if
they
they
go.
go to the places
That
we're talking
light
about.
needs a big dollar sign on
Right.
it, because
Yeah.
that's what it means to the repair
So,
shop.
but check
And on
money
top
light.
of that, if they go to these parts stores, a lot of them will say, for example, if they have any type of a code with an oxygen sensor, they
They'll
might
sell the sensor.
Absolutely. They'll sell them the sensor, and they'll bring them to the repair shop and say, can you put this in my car?
No.
Fix your, yeah,
The answer's
fix
no.
your car, they'll fix
Well, that's right, I had.
That's what they say is
I've had
wrong.
a couple people do that, wanting to bring me to, how much will you charge me to put that alternator in? Like, I didn't check it out, I don't wanna put that in. What if it's not, sure enough,
Or
I
you
checked
have
it,
You're gonna be married
I
to the
checked it for
job.
them.
You'll be married
Even
to
though
That's not-
the
wasn't
you're
that part.
married, you're married to the
Yes,
customer.
but over the years, again, you're a businessman, you gotta make money.
Yeah.
It's a little slow that day. Mr. Bob
That's a
comes
different story,
in
but-
Right.
with the alternator, the oxygen sensor, whatever. I would put on the bill, I'm not responsible, and he has to
Absolutely.
sign, not only the bottom, because New York State law, we gotta sign the
That's the
bottom.
way to do
He'd
it.
have to put it on the side based on your diagnosis or whoever told you to put this in.
Mhm.
There's no guarantee this alternator's gonna work. Don't work, you still owe me the money
Mhm.
For the labor.
That's the way it was.
That's
said.
correct.
I actually have a form for that.
And I gotta
that
tell you,
works.
most of those people were the biggest pains in the butts.
Mhm.
And when I used to do
Right.
that stupid radio show and TV show, I ate so much crap because people would think, oh, you're answering it on air for free, and they'd bring you stuff in. Okay?
So
It
you're
was
shocked.
a nightmare from hell, and you gotta know when to go.
How's that for the unintended consequence of being,
Out.
doing the radio show?
Oh, terrible. I remember the one guy, the story I used, and the guy was right out this very door, years back. He called in a radio show, what I did in New York City at the time, and it was on a Saturn. He had a Saturn, went to two Saturn dealers, they charged him about 110, one was 120. It was a lot of money, this is years ago.
Mhm.
Saturn first came out. Brand new.
Diagnostic fee you're talking about.
Diagnostic thing. You know what the problem was? He had one headlight that was bright and one that was dead.
Oh my God.
Bad ground.
And I'm like, well,
Bad
not a-
connection anyway.
not a bad ground, because they used the common ground,
Oh, yeah,
two
yeah.
separate fuses.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Bad
so it
connection.
backfired to the ground.
Bad connection.
So I said, come on, how could they miss this? But we all know, people think the dealerships are better, okay?
Factory trained after all.
Maybe all of these guys that looked at the car, didn't understand how to read a wire diagram, that's for damn sure, okay? And guess what? The example I have in here, our TST newsletter for this month.
Oh, yeah.
okay? And
Come to the
also-
seminar and you'll get
and-
one.
Exactly. At any rate, or if you're a member online, you can download it. At any rate, the guy said, do you mind if I watch? And I spoke to him on air and even off air, because they had to give him the address. No. I said, it's gonna be about 48 bucks, was about half of my labor rate at the time. And I went, I looked at it, I checked a couple of things real quick, I put a fuse in it, it's working. So, okay, come inside and pay for it. He goes, I ain't paying you for that. I said, excuse me? And he showed me. I even made copy of his bills before that. I'm leaving this out. I had copy of his bills because I said, I'm going to fix this. I'll give you my bill and you get your money back. Because I can't believe they couldn't fix this.
Right.
The guy got all cranky. I took the keys out of the car, told him, get the hell out of my shop. He went out there, and his day was before cell phones. He must have walked down the road to a payphone, because the next thing I know, my guys looked out and they said, oh, cops out there. I said, oh. So I went out the door. I said, you know, people like you make it bad for everyone. That's what I said to the guy, because I was really ticked off. We shut the door. Next thing you know, my guy said, the cop went away. Oh, as far as guy, cop didn't come speak to me. He comes in and he goes, I want to pay for my car. I said, well, cash only. So he said, okay. And he goes, I want to apologize.
Well, the cop straightened him out.
So I'm like, you know, I'm a little weary.
Looking for the hidden cameras?
I'm wondering if the money's really green. It's real. So
Fresh off the press.
at any rate, he pays me, and I said, and I gave him a little more, because that's the type of guy I am. I said, you really shouldn't be mad at me. I told you I was going to do it, but you got to pay me. And I gave him the story that if you're ever in Dearborn, Michigan, the Henry Ford story. Henry Ford was friends with Edison.
with Edison, Thomas
And
Edison.
Henry Ford was a cheap SOB. He bought generators because he had his Rouge plant coming online, the biggest plant that did raw material to everything. And he basically said that and said, hey, I can't get the generators working. You send someone out to fix this and I'll pay you. So Edison sends his guy out. He fixes them. He says, Henry, it's $10,000. So he says to Thomas, I ain't gonna pay it. I want an itemized bill before I pay this. Okay. Writes him up an itemized bill, you know, with that crazy liquid pens years back. Sends it to him, $9,999 for knowing what to do, $1 for doing it.
Yeah.
And Henry Ford paid the bill. And that's what I told this guy. I said, you know what? Two guys charged you all that money at the factory authorized place. They didn't fix it. I fixed it. You pay me for knowing what to do. He said, you know what? You got a customer. This guy brought his daughter's car from New Jersey, his car. He became a phenomenal customer.
Some of those are the best
So what
customers.
what did the cop say to the guy? Why did he come in?
I don't know. I didn't hear that.
Cop must have
According
straightened
to
him
one of
out.
my guys at the time, he told the cop to go away. My guy saw him.
Oh, he had
Yeah.
second thoughts.
He must have had second thoughts when I told him people like him, you know, make it bad for other customers.
Yeah.
You know, because out of any radio or TV customer I used to get, I would say maybe 1 or 2 out of 20 were good, because they were all wanted something for free.
Yeah.
By the way, sometimes having integrity gets you the best customers, too.
Exactly.
I had a customer, I didn't know it at the time, but somebody came to me wanting to buy actually a wreck I had for parts. He wanted to put 2 cars together, clip a car. And I didn't know this guy. And I could have sold this junk I had for a lot of money. And I said, absolutely, you don't want to do that. You just junk what you got and buy another car. Forget it. Not going to work out. You don't want to do that. And do you know, it turned out that guy had 6 BMWs and was a lifelong customer of mine.
Okay, sometimes it works out. And Mike has a good comment here. And Mike, thanks for all the comments. I think, Alan, where are you? You sleeping tonight, brother? If the customer ever gives a complaint, make sure the tech who worked on the car comes out and hears it directly from the customer.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes, a little
That
accountability.
Accountability.
He said, she said.
And
Yeah.
it may have nothing to do, sometimes with the writer up front or whatever, they're not 100% sure.
And sometimes it's a perception that the customer thought this was going to fix that. And so a lot of that has to be done in pre-sale.
And you know
You
what?
have to explain things well. Whoever's selling things to the customers has to be able to explain what is or is not about to happen before you get any money exchanges.
And pictures are worth a gazillion words. We used to have in every shop, I
Yeah,
had
he does a lot.
Polaroids.
He wears cameras out.
Okay. We used to have Polaroids in the shop to take Polaroids. Now we have these.
Oh, yeah.
10 megapixel,
Can't beat it.
can't beat it, could email it to them, whatever. You take a picture and document it.
Documentation.
Alex
Nice.
here has worn a couple of cameras out as well. He takes
Yeah.
pictures of everything. Not only does it help for articles and so on,
It helps him.
but you show the people, look, this is the way it looked before, and it's the same cover. Yours is beat up. Here's afterwards. Right? It's the same one. Yours fell in oil a couple of times.
What we do to our equipment, huh?
But you guys get the idea. So, in trying to wrap this up, what do we all think? We'll start with Eric and go around. Remember to speak up for our people out there. What do you think you could offer, and what could be done to bring more people into this industry? Go ahead, Eric.
Well, I think giving us some kind of incentive plan definitely helps, but you just gotta come up with something that's gonna work, because the incentive plans can be tough sometimes. Plus, I mean, again, health insurance is a plus, I mean, yeah, if you can afford it, depending on if they, you know, you want that or need that, if they have their spouse, if they're married, or if they have insurance elsewhere, you could decide for that with, or check, either offer them health insurance or bigger, or more money. Other than that, time off and sick days definitely helps, and make them feel happy at their business, at their job.
I think just teaching the newcomers, young kids, on how to treat customers properly. If you know how to treat customers properly and your boss sees that you treat the customer properly, that goes a long way. When the boss is not there and your employees do the right thing, it makes you look so much better. So if you teach your employees how to treat the customers right, it'll make your business so much better.
Well, that's true, but how are we gonna get more people in this industry? How are you gonna attract more techs? You're gonna tell them, I'm gonna show you how to treat a customer better? That's important, don't get me wrong. But how or what are we gonna do, or do you think could be done to get more techs into this business?
I think one of the things is treating your people well. Not that, you know, there's an awful lot of people in this industry that have abused each other. We've talked about it. Mechanics, technicians taking a lot of abuse. We're basically being unprofessional, encouraging, complimentary, you know, building up good behavior rather than just knocking people down.
Absolutely, and that's what I do. I mean, I kind of, for me, I guess because I already do this stuff.
Natural to you.
I already
Right.
you know, tell my guys when they do a good job. I expect people to screw up, and because I screw up, we're not all perfect. So I don't
Nobody
berate
is.
my guys. So having a good work environment is something that guys need to be around.
That's
So if you don't have a good work environment,
Do you guys allow music? How many guys allow music to be played?
I do.
Yeah, I do.
I did, but not loud.
Not loud,
Yeah.
exactly.
And I never
Nothing
really
crazy.
worked. When
not kill
Yeah, yeah.
so-and-so or
and,
whatever, right? Seriously, I've gone to places.
When I was the shop manager up at Volkswagen, when we started, there was all this music coming from everybody's little music box at full volume. And I basically said, it wasn't universally held to, but, you know, let's do one station at a time, one type at a time, and we can change it. Let's not have this, you know, 7 different things going on at the same time at full volume trying to compete with each other. But part of it was I tried to create a comfortable environment so they were happy, so they wouldn't feel they had to do stuff like that just to get the other guy.
Remember, they're only there with you at least 10 hours a day, right?
Yeah, that's all.
I mean, it's a long day in our business.
Yeah.
And, you know, by the way, one of the things I did there, I do it actually at these other places. First thing I do in the morning is I go around and specifically say hi to every single individual. Good morning, how are you, and so forth.
That means a lot.
If it's a long weekend, how was your weekend? You know,
exactly.
Absolutely.
Start the day nicely.
And if you teach your guys to do that,
Yes.
it goes a long way.
And the whole place is more civil.
No doubt. Very good. And Rich?
And of course, one of the biggest things too is to actually offer your people training in the subject that they're doing, and that is in repairs. And it's if you're counting on them to get themselves trained, that may not happen.
And you know, it's funny you mention that because we have a comment here. If more employers would offer more training classes to the techs, that would be a great help.
There you go.
He usually had to pay for training out of his own pocket or for books. And that's sad. When you work for someone, that's an investment in their business. Okay? I know Neil has paid for his guys.
So I was going to say, you know, we have people here that...
And we have...
And you have too.
Yeah, I usually make them
Eric?
pay for half, so at least they had an incentive to go. That
Right.
way they're showing they want to go because they're
Yes.
they're paying,
Yeah.
and I'm giving them half
Yeah.
the money back.
Yeah,
Right.
putting
If they keep
something
coming, then I
in.
usually pay the whole thing, but I got to see that they want to come to begin with.
Yeah, there's no doubt. There's
Right.
no value in free.
Absolutely.
But see what
Free, it's like,
I get
okay,
it. Offer them training and offer them, you know.
And you know what I would do with training? If they miss 3 classes, it's like being up at bat.
Mm-hmm.
3 times you missed a class,
3 strikes and you're out.
you were gone.
Mm-hmm.
And once I fired a couple of people, but back then it was easier to get people.
Yeah.
Now you can twist people.
now it's like 6 classes.
Yeah, and now it's like, how many do you want to miss? You know, how many could you miss? But it's different. Ed?
Yeah.
Looking at both sides, as a shop owner, show interest, show faith. If you offer a technician something, follow through with it. Give them what you told them you would give them. As a technician, show interest. You know, be passionate about your job, and have the attitude where you want to learn and better your ability, make money, and be happy. You know, there's nothing like going to a job where you hate going.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that.
That's right.
On the other hand,
It's your other wife or spouse or whatever the case may be, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because really, the people you work with, if you don't like them, it makes for a miserable
And
day.
you're there, what, 80% of your
Every
time?
time.
Right.
So
Yeah.
enjoy yourself.
Well, in my case, it's more like 100% of the time. But anyway, hey,
there's
we like.
agreement from behind the camera.
Let's leave driving. We want to thank all you guys for coming out. I do want to remind you, number one, Ed, in our TST column, has an article out in the August one. I don't think I got my motor age either.
I haven't got mine yet.
And try to find motor age online. We need to see how that works a little bit better. So you can find motor age online to see what's going on. And one of the new things that we'll be doing, we'll still do roundtables, but I think because participation has been lower than we like, we will do a monthly some technical thing on a car and get back to our scan tool shootout and maybe do these quarterly. I know we still have our top 10 tool of the year thing that we'll do, but you know, unless we see people emailing us, and we know we've been a help to many, and we do thank you guys for watching.
Definitely.
But we'll do some technical stuff on a card, and maybe a bunch of short little clips that we'll do, but that'll be something different. I thought about that today. You know, we've seen registrations that Doreen sent out on our new email stuff. Don't forget, never delete the password thing you get, even though it's free. I did see we were about 4 to 5 times the amount of signups, you know, for something that's on a car, and this has been holding true for a while now.
Right.
So,
Because
that
we're
being
hands-on
said-
learners, and that's the closest thing you get to hands-on.
So you'll still hear us yak our opinions, but we'll be doing it a little different on the car. And we always welcome your views and opinions. And don't forget, you can always email us at info@tstseminars.org and look for us on YouTube at the TST Seminars channel on YouTube. And thank you once again for your time. Have a great evening. Good night from New York.
Yep, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night.